Hello everybody, wanted to make a quick video on installing Ringbrothers hood hinges. Now, you're not going to see me install these. These are already on the car, as you can see, and I'll explain that here in a little bit, but I will give you some basic information which will hopefully help you install yours. So these are high-end hood hinges made by Ringbrothers up in Wisconsin. They have a gas strut that replaces your original spring, and these are very, very heavy duty. They come in powder-coated form, I believe black, or you can get them in polished aluminum. You will not get them in this form, which is chrome-plated. If you want that, you need to contact them, purchase a hardware kit, disassemble the hinges completely, removing all bolts, washers, spacers, bearings that are pressed in, and send every piece to your chrome plater. He will chrome plate them, and you will get what you see here. That is extremely expensive. However, I regret none of that. So, with that being said, basic bodywork 101. So, when you have your doors and your fenders and you're putting your car back together, you fit your door to your quarter panel. When your gap aligns in the rear, you go ahead and install your fender. Now, you can move your door up and down with the hinges up front. However, everybody's car had different lifestyles. Some got minor wrecks, hit in the front, could have twisted the radiator support. That radiator support is only to be bolted on after your door fits, because you can adjust things with shims, and things can move. It was very common back in the day when repairing cars like these that things were repaired rather than replaced because the cost associated with a replacement was too much and repairs were fairly simple. There was a lot of movement that you could do with these bolts as compared to today's cars, which are very, very tightly fit together. So with that being said, my car is fairly original. It doesn't have many shims, but you could have shims up here to braze the fender up. You could have shims at the firewall to push the fender forward, and that's all to adjust any differences in your radiator support or anything like that. Okay, so with that being said, I can't tell you how to install your hood because I'm not there to figure out what's going on with it. These hoods are notorious for kinking. They have crash zones in them, so when you got into an accident, these zones would crumple and it would bring the accident, the force of the accident closer to, it would take the accident and force it into the panels rather than to the car. That's 70s technology. We still have that today. However, this spot right here is a design flaw within these hoods because your hinge has pressure on it there. And if those original hinges were not lubricated in all the spots that needed to be, you would crush your hood right there. Well, case in point, my hood took a little bit of a crushing. I saved the outside. However, when that happened, I could feel the hood starting to move without the hinge, and I stopped what I was doing before I damaged my hood. With that being said, my hood is bent. It is bowed in the center, and it does not fit my car. With the original hinges, I was able to manipulate that because there is a lot of play in here. These hinges do also have a lot of play. They are slotted on the bottom, and they are slotted at the top. So you can move things around. However, these are extremely rigid, whereas the original hinges, they move around a little bit even when they're on the car themselves. You know what I mean? So that's one reason I can't show you how to do this. But I can tell you what's involved. It's very, very simple. You've got your original hinges, just like this. You're going to remove the bolts from the top of the hood on each side. This is a two-person job. Do not try to do it by yourself. Get the hood off, set it aside, and then you have your bolts that go into your fenders themselves. These are 9/16, okay? They come out super easy. Once you get these bolts removed, these bolts basically just hold the hinge to the fender. When that's off, you're going to get your hardware kit. My hardware kit's a little different than what you're going to have. You're going to have basically the bolts that you need. I have extra stuff because I had to buy a hardware kit to chrome plate my hinges. So your shorter screws are going to be an Allen style, and that Allen on the short one will go into the hood. There'll be a washer that comes with it. Put the washer on, short ones into the hood. These Allens are actually 7/32, so it is a standard style Allen, but You cannot really use this too well. You have to use a short one to get to the back portion of the hinge specifically, I found out. So the long ones will go into the fender because you've got plenty of space between the fender and the bolt before that bolt would actually penetrate anything on the outside of the fender. So long bolts in, washers on the outside, and then as you're putting this in, you need to try to center your bolt as best you can with the washer. These hinges will move side to side, and you can push these kind of one way or another to try to manipulate them into place. However, if they are not lined up correctly, your hood will be cockeyed, fit weird, or anything like that. What I did to start out was I brought my hinges all the way up. I wanted to see what was going on. Unbeknownst to my memory, my hood being bent, it brought everything up, and I had a gap at the back of the fender about this tall where the hood sat right about here. So that freaked me out a little bit. However, I dropped everything back down. My easiest solution for you to adjust some of this is tighten your front bolt and loosen your back bolt while somebody on the front pushes up. This will take that back hinge and it'll move it up and down. You can adjust accordingly once you get it to a certain point where it looks like it's fitting well. Height-wise, you can kind of stop, tighten your bolts back up, and move on to the adjustment forward and back. One of the things that you'll want to watch out for is your hood hitting your windshield, of course. Make sure it's far enough forward so you're not destroying anything while you open your hood. And this trim lining up is a good place to check and see how things are starting to fit. Obviously, you want your gaps fit nice and tight across the front. Your hood gap across the front is always a little big, and your adjustments for your hood is going to be up and down with these. Screwing out with the actual screw, it's a Phillips screw inside there, we'll bring it up. Screwing in, we'll bring that down. Now those just sit and rest on the top side, bottom side of the actual hood itself. So as long as there's no play up and down, they should be touching. So it's just a lot of moving back and forth. It took about an hour and a half to get this hood set, so I feel comfortable with it. There's not much I can do about the bow in the hood until I replace the hood. I have one media blasted, epoxied, and ready for me to do bodywork to. I'm just not ready for it yet. I'm going to put NOS fenders, door skins, and then repaint the back, fixing all the rock chips across the bottom. All NOS trim. I'm not ready to do the hood just yet. I wanted the shocks on, or the hinges on, because I spent a lot of money on them and I want to start using them. So I do not regret putting them on, but this hood closes absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you do not have to try too hard when you close this. I know from here up, I used to have to just kind of drop the hood. That's how you would have to close it originally. Now you can just push it shut. It is still a little tight. You can see the bowing there in my hood. That's normal. But once everything's done, it pops right open, and it is literally a two-finger job to lift the hood. That is simply amazing. So I recommend putting these in. Personally, I put a new latch in mine because my hood, when you see this, you can see there's a little mark on this new latch that I put in. My hood was sitting and it was kind of hitting that and then shoving it over. So I put in a new latch. I already had it cleaned up, and I just took that bolt, lifted it up, and twisted it. There you have it. Now I have a nice lubricated hinge. Looks good. It closes nice. Everything fits well as I can possibly make it. But again, I can't show you how to put your hood on. Every car is going to be slightly different. It's just kind of the way it is. So I hope that helps you moving forward with your project. If you're looking to get these hinges, definitely reach out to Ringbrothers. They do make them. I have another set that goes on the trunk, also chrome plated. I have not tried to play with that due to the stereo install that's in the back. And we are heading to the Nationals next week. So you will see this car out in Ohio, and I will be out there with it. So you can see my intake manifold has already discolored. So I know that everything's good now. It's just the way it is. So we'll see you at the Nationals. If you got any questions, feel free to ask. I've done a lot of different things to these cars. Hydro Boost, this custom install, put electric fans in it a couple years ago. So lots of different options. I can gladly answer questions. We'll be there all weekend. And again, if you need anything, reach out to me. Thanks for watching, guys.